songs of all my great-grandmothers and the dreams of all my great-grandfathers and the way to rise beyond the pain or live, live in me. In the land of I am more than I have been, I am more than I will be, I am all that I am. In the land of I am more than I have been, I am more than I will be, I am all that I am. In the land of I am more than I have been, I am more than I will be, I am all that I am. In the land of I am more than I have been, I am more than I will be, I am all that I am. And the smiles of all the unborn children and the dream of a better day to come and the dance of heaven with the earth all live, live in me. Land of I am more than I have been, I am more than I will be, I am all that I am. In the land of I am more than I have been, I am more than I will be, I am all that I am. In the land of I am more than I have been, I am more than I will be, I am all that I am. In the land of I am more than I have been, I am more than I will be, I am all that I am. Been robbed and displaced, abused and disgraced. Been robbed and disgraced, abused and disgraced. Been lied to, lies can be seen through in the land. You can't fall from grace in the land. You cannot be heard in the land. There's more than enough in the land. Always at home, always at home, always at home, always at home, always at In the land of I am more than I have been, I am more than I will be, I am all that I am. In the land of I am more than I have been, I am more than I will be, I am all that I am. Songs of all my great-grandmothers and the dreams of all my great-grandfathers and the way to rise beyond the pain or live, live in me. In the land of I am more than I have been, I am more.
Good morning, Open Heart, and welcome to our live stream celebration for this Sunday, January the 24th, 2021. Our theme for this month is New Every Moment. And indeed, every moment is new. Every day is new. I'm excited about the opportunity to present another live stream for you and want to thank all of the people who played a part in making this possible, their contributions musically, affirmative reading, and all of the other things, and your contributions, your financial support, and everything else that keeps us going, even in these unusual times. This is a new moment. This is a new day, and I greet you. I bless you. I see God in you.
Into this sacred space, we invoke
invite, and make room for the divine that is moving, grooving, and flowing in all of us. That we say yes to embodying it, yes to having this presence in our celebration and in, as, and through us. Yes, Spirit. Come, Spirit. Move, Spirit. Heal, Spirit. Empower, Spirit. Miraculous us, Spirit. Surprise us, Spirit. And transform us, Spirit, throughout this celebration. And so it is.
Our theme this month is New Every Moment. And our daily affirmation, won't you say it with me? Every moment is new. Because I know that principle is not bound by precedent. I enter this day of promise, potential, and possibility with a sense of joy and anticipation.
Good morning. This is a meditation that was done on New Year's Day as part of a yoga session. It's entitled, Who Are We Not to Shine by Mary Ann Williamson. The final aspects of the yoga path is Isvara Pranahana, or surrender to God. Faith, surrender, devotion. Faith in what? Surrender to what? Devotion to what? The answers to these questions cannot be found in any book. They are written in our hearts. They were written long before we were born, and we practice yoga to complete our journey back to the truth about ourselves. Whether or not you have a God or want a God is irrelevant. All of us have experienced moments of profound connectedness, the caress of a spring breeze on bare skin, the feeling in our chest when we look into another's eyes with love, the holy awe of gazing at a star-strewn summer night. There's a greatness right beneath the surface of everyday life, and every once in a while we catch a glimpse of it. Those are the sudden, lucid flashes when life beguiles us out of the prison of our minds and leads us right into the moment. On our mats and on our meditation cushions, we begin to experience this deep connectedness as an everyday occurrence. Isvarana Pranahana is about making the experience of that greatness a priority. And why not? We can live in the light with the same ease with which we live in our darkness. We are surrounded by mentors, by men and women who have chosen to live life on a higher plane for a higher purpose. The music we listen to, the movies we watch, the books we read, all abound with references to the sweetness of amazing grace. This final moment in the 8 limbs of yoga is about allowing grace to happen. Not hoping for it to happen, not trying hard for it to happen, but to let it happen. Not believing that one day it will happen. This final moment is about letting it happen. It is about shining. And who are we not to shine?
Well, good morning, Open Heart, and welcome to your announcements for this Sunday, January the 24th, 2021. Well, I'll say that January is a great month to be born in, and I'm sure that Renee Crone, Marshall Gilmore, Sydney Moonflower, Carolyn Head, April Clinton, Daryl Lowe, Emma Crystal, Juanita White, Yvonne Gilmore, and Vanessa McVeigh all agree with me. Again, to all of you celebrating birthdays with me this month, wish you a very happy birthday. To those of you on our prayer list, those who are grieving, we see comfort in your lives, you being strengthened. Those who need healing, we see your help and wholeness. Those who need encouragement and pulling through situations or circumstances, we see that already done for you in the mind of God. It's already done, it's happening. We hold each and every one of you in our prayers, those on the list, those beyond the list. We know that prayer indeed works. It happens on Tuesday, our midday love grid meditation at 12:30 p.m. Enter into our meditation portal on our website, ohsc901.com. Our meditations are led by Britannia Allen. We're still looking for your affirmative readings. If you will send the video, we can feature you. Thank you to Carolyn Head for this week's affirmative reading. And every morning at 8 a.m. Central Time, our daily affirmative prayer call, 901-586-8755, led by one of the members of our prayer team. Won't you start your day with us in prayer? Infinite prosperity is mine to share. Thank you so much for your support of us through your conscious giving. We know that times can be uncertain, but you continue to support Open Heart, and it is truly appreciated. You can do so via our app. You can do so online or text the word GIVE to 615-422-4292. Thanks again.
Let us breathe in and out. Grateful for all that has gone on before, the singing, the reading, the praying, even the announcements. And now as we come to this place to hear from God again, in a new way, in an expansive way, in an empowering way, in a different way, we choose consciously to be present, centered, focused in the now.
We are the love of strangers who say a silent prayer. We are the love of mothers that taught our hearts to care.
We are
the patience and the sacrifice of yesterday.
Silence in between the breaths of all the words we say.
We are.
We are the proof of life, how our ancestors gave.
We are the proof of love from the cradle to the grave. We are.
We are the best of struggles that we won't have to bear.
We are the air to all the prayers that float upon the air.
We are.
We are.
We are the seed of children that may never know our name. We are the piece of people that won't bow their heads in shame.
We are.
We walk upon the earth. We knock at heaven's door.
We are the life that teems along the deepest ocean's floor.
We are.
The present, the past, the future days to come. The Alpha, the Omega, we are everything in one. We are.
We are.
Eagles calling, and he's calling your name. Tides are turning, bringing winds of change. Why do I feel this way? The promise of a new day. The promise of a new day. As through time the earth moves under my feet, as one step closer to make love complete. What has the final say? The promise of a new day. And so over time, what will change the world? No one knows. So only the promise is a day to live, to give, and to share with one another. See the wisdom from the mistakes in our past. Hear the younger generation ask, why do I feel this way? The promise of a new day. And so over time, what will change the world? No one knows. So only the promise is a day to live, to give, and to share with one another. Those were words that Paula Abdul sang in 1990. The title of a song, The Promise of a New Day. And what is it that this song describes? What is it that she so joyfully and hopefully sang about? What is it that propels us as people forward? What is it that in the midst of despair and agony and all kinds of chaos and everything else allows us to strive for something more? Yes, she already told us the promise of a new day. You might call it hope, you might call it focus or intention, but it is the foundation of our teaching in New Thought, Ancient Wisdom, the bedrock, if you will, of our faith. It's why we pray affirmatively. It's why we say things like, if you can believe it and conceive it, you can achieve it. It's our capacity to dream. Genevieve Baring in Your Invisible Power says that one of the things that's important for us to do to realize things in our lives is to see in your mind consistently and persistently you living the results of what you wish to experience. She calls it the law of visualization. That because you flow out of all that is, the all-originating universal spirit of life, or God, reproduces for you the corresponding picture of what you see yourself being. When you see yourself in your mind's eye, it will be invisible to the physical eye, but what you see in your mind's eye, it should be plain to your spiritual eye. We know it another way in the book of Hebrews, the 11th chapter, verse 1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Our daily affirmation for this month contains the phrase, principle is not bound by precedent. But what does it mean? One of the New Thought teachers, Thomas Troward, who basically coined this phrase and taught from this idea, says that he talks about the great lessons that he learned from the idea of the aircraft and the flight. How early on we know that flight probably came from, the idea for the airplane came from the balloon. The balloon and how it being filled with hydrogen allowed it to become lighter than air and to rise up, and how over time that idea evolved into even machines that were heavier than air being able to rise and to float through the air and to travel great distances. That resulted in the dirigible, and out of that many other things happened, and ultimately the airplane. But one of the things he pointed out was the early attempts to create an airplane, to build an airplane, failed. So many times as people tried to create craft that would go through the air, propel themselves through the air, they had crashes, people were ridiculed, people lost their lives. Many other things happened as a result of that. But people kept trying. In particular, the Wright brothers. And he talks about how after a few of their flights or attempts at flying and not being successful at it, how all of a sudden one of the brothers said to the other, that's okay, because I see myself flying one day, moving through the air in this machine, and it's going to be smooth and it's going to be easy. And we all know the story, because today, not only are we able to travel long distances in an airplane across the earth, but even escape the bounds of gravity and fly into outer space and fly to the moon, travel to the moon and orbit the earth, and all of the other things that are a part of our learning how to do that. So the failures of those early attempts at flying did not deter or did not mean that it couldn't happen. It did not mean that it didn't happen. So principle is not bound by precedent. And I think that one of the things that we have to keep in mind as we move forward here in this country is that we are seeing the possibility of what can be. We are seeing what is presenting itself to us now, a nation that is in the aftermath of so many things that happened that were chaotic, so many things that happened that were oppressive, so many things that happened that were unjust, all of that. We're seeing now again the possibility of what things could be. It doesn't mean all of a sudden things are well. It doesn't mean that we gloss over the past. We have things that have come up for healing that are here now, and it's incumbent upon us to join together with other people and bring about this sense of healing, bring about this sense of justice, bring about this sense of hope. I'm by no means one of those people who talks in the way that everything's all right now and we just have to move forward. There are some things that have to be accounted for. There are some injustices that in need of being redressed. There are certain things that are important here. But there is a way of seeing in this moment and in this country the promise of a new day. And I firmly know that no politician, no political party has all the answers. None of them are perfect, and I don't put my trust in them, and I hope that neither do you put your trust completely in them, but do you see something that is higher and greater than all of this and recognize and do that? Because there's something that I do know about big movements like we've seen and the things that are happening as a result of the inauguration and things that are happening there. There are things that can happen with big movements and ideas like that when people don't all get on board. And I know we'll never have everybody on board, but when we don't hold that consistent idea in our minds and see it in our mind's eye. In the aftermath of the Million Man March in 1995, a friend shared how he attended that event and how inspired he was by all of the black men from all over the country who came together and made pledges of solidarity and working together and standing up for their communities and their family and all of that. He talked about how the attitudes that people had during that time were toward one another, the ways in which people treated one another, and he felt really inspired and moved by all of that. Unfortunately, while he was there, he lost his wallet, a wallet that not only contained his ID and his credit cards, but a large amount of cash. He chalked it up to being careless and just knew that was the end of it. Because he was traveling with some friends, he was able to make it safely back home and was ready to begin the process of doing what he could to replace his ID, his credit cards, and all of those things, when a package arrived in the mail. And in that package was his wallet. And the wallet not only contained all of the ID and credit cards and everything, but also that large amount of cash that he had in the wallet. Every single dollar was there, along with the note from the person who found it, who said, "I think you probably would need this," and wished him a good day and a good life and all of that. And when he told me that story, I was inspired. I remember vibing on that good feeling that here was something positive and something powerful that had happened that was really wonderful, and it was great. And as I left him and still had those thoughts in my mind, because his energy was just contagious after he was telling me about all of that, I was driving down the street and I saw a man walking on the sidewalk with a woman that was his girlfriend, partner, whatever she might have been. And I saw him strike her and I saw him push her. And there was something inside of me that was thinking, wait a minute. Here we just had this event and all of these great things that happened there, and he's going to do that. And without really thinking any further, and I would not recommend this, and I would not ever do this again, but I stopped my car and I jumped out and I ran across over to them and I said, look, leave her alone. Stop it. Don't you remember the Million Man March? And I was trying to tell him about being positive and respecting our women and all of those things. And he looked at me, and she looked at me, and some other people around looked at me. And then he let me know what he thought about me, what he thought about the Million Man March, and told me where I could go, and all of those things. And I thought about it, and I moved on around and got back in my car, and I drove off. And the idea, again, with movements like that, with things that we see that bring us hope, if we don't take those things, if we don't take the promise and potential that comes from those things and apply it where we are, in the level and place where we are, with the people where we are, unless we take those shifts in perspective, those things that have changed, that come about, unless we take those and apply them in the spaces and places where we are, then ultimately that promise doesn't necessarily get fulfilled. So it's important for us, where we are, where we see this promise of a new day, we see things are changing, we see things are happening, we see the compassion, we see all of the other things that are happening for us, that we get on board, that we recognize that where we are, we can make a difference. I've been saying that all this time through all of these months with the pandemic and people dying and the unrest and the injustices that we see, that we ourselves have the key to right where we are, making a difference and making a change. I mentioned earlier the 11th chapter of Hebrews, that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. That idea, again, a principle not being bound by precedent, what we call the mental equivalent of being able to see things and holding it in your mind before they happen. I want to close with the last verse of Hebrews chapter 11, that 40th verse, that said God had planned something better for us so that together they would be made perfect. In Hebrews, it gives what I call the roll call of the faithful. It talks about many people that were chronicled down through the history of Israel in their sacred scripture, who were heroes of faith, who lived lives in pursuit of certain things, motivated and empowered by God to do those things. But it talks about in the end, they didn't necessarily attain what was promised, but saw it and saluted it from afar. That without us putting in our part and carrying on the vision and the ideas that they saw, it only by us doing so would those things be made perfect and would those things be realized. And so I think it's important, as we talk about the promise of a new day, is that each of us ask ourselves, what can we do and how can we play our part in doing what it is that we can to help usher in this promise of a new day, the promise and potential that comes from a new day. And finally, I know, like so many people, my heart swelled with pride as I watched during the inauguration this week, Amanda Gorman take the stage, and right there in the same spot where just a few days earlier we saw the insurrection and the violence and the chaos and all of the things that ensued as a part of that, she gave us that promise of a new day. And some of her words I share with you now. We will rise from the gold-limbed hills of the west. We will rise from the windswept northeast, where our forefathers first realized revolution. We will rise from the lake-rimmed cities of the Midwestern states. We will rise from the sun-baked South. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover. And every known rock of our nation and every corner called our country, our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge, battered and beautiful. When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light if we are only brave enough to see it, if we are only brave enough to be it. The promise of a new day.
There was a time in my life to do it all for myself. I didn't know that the grace of God was sufficient, and I didn't know that the love of God was at hand. But now I can say, if you are discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day, you've got to let it go, let it all go. And this is what you have to say: I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggles, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggles, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggles, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Yes, I'm only here for God.
There are times in our life we give up the fight. We sit down and cry. We let life pass us by. Keep on, look at the past. Things that just didn't last. We gave up too fast. We chose to let it all go. Just listen, just listen. Spirit is calling, our hearts are yearning. Just listen, just listen. Feel your heart burning. Your mind is learning to let go. Be in the flow, then you will know who you really are, who you really are. Just listen. And so it is.